Hi, this is Taipan for Shanzai.com, and we're here today back in the behind the camera, and we're checking out the FlyTouch 3.1G tablet today, which is a 10.1 inch tablet with a 16:9 aspect ratio, so it's kind of a long and narrow big tablet. But if you'll follow me here, first of all, we've got the box. It comes with the typical Android tablet box that we're seeing coming out of China, with white with a picture of the device and its beautiful screen on top. It comes with a few accessories that you'll find inside here. We've got the power supply, obviously fairly generic, and we've also got a GPS antenna. So obviously they're thinking that this would be a good device to have inside of your car. You can stick this on the dashboard with line of sight to the sky. Now today in the review, unfortunately, we don't have the device for very long, and I haven't had a chance to test it out, so I have to apologize. We're not going to be doing a demo of any of the features of that, so you'll have to check around in the forums and find out what the performance on the GPS antenna is, I'm sorry to say. Also in the box you'll find there comes some basic headphones so that you can listen to some audio on your device. And there is also a user manual with quite a bit of instructions, probably the most instructions and things that we've seen for actually using the device in English. So for those of you who are worried about trying to figure out how to use the device, there is actually some stuff here in the manual. But let's get beyond the manual and the fun stuff, and let's get right to the tablet. Now here's the FlyTouch device itself. As I said, it's a little bit longer than some of the tablets and narrower in the sense that it is a 10.1 inch size device, but it's that 16:9 aspect ratio that makes it long and narrow. Let's flip it over here for a second. The accelerometer inside of it works fine, but it isn't the fastest. There's always seems to be a little moment there while it takes to flip over and get into the display, and that's typical of our usage when we put the device through its testing. If you look at the front of the screen, there is actually two different features that to take note of. One is there is only a single button here for pressing, which is the back button, and there's also the camera on the top here, which takes pictures and video as well. Now, the screen is a resistive touch screen, but it's very clear and nice, and really we have seen there are some poor resistive touch screens and nice resistive touch screens, and we have to go on record and saying this is actually one of the nice ones. It's not as good as a capacitive touch screen for sure, but it is very nice as far as resistive touch screens go, and it's responsive to touch. You don't have to fool around with it too much. We'll demonstrate that a little bit more for you later. Now let's take a little walk around the device. On the first one edge of the device, you'll see there's nothing. On the top of the device, you'll see that there's actually a little stylus tucked away inside of the corner of the device. That's probably for character input for Asian language users, especially important. And you'll see that there's a bunch of different little rivet holes here along through the device. And those are actually probably going to be the modders and hackers will be getting in there and taking those off so they can get at the insides of this to take it apart. You'll see there's also a speaker, and here's a little gold sort of plated type area where the GPS antenna connects to directly to the device. So while we're not going to demo it, we just let you know that that pops into there, and it does click in nice and firmly. In fact, it's a little bit tough to pull out once it's in there. There's a dedicated power switch here button, so you can turn your device on and off with the power. There's a back and forth rocker switch for increasing your volume. There's a menu button typical for your Android, and also a home button. So when you want to get home directly on the device, you press that, not the button on the front of the device like you might with your Apple type product. So it's a little bit different than that. There's another speaker port, and there's also a dedicated Wi-Fi on and off switch. So you can turn your Wi-Fi on and off with the hardware. Coming around again to the further side here, you'll see there's more rivet holes for screws. In this particular case, there's a headphone jack port. There's also a USB 2.0. Inside of here is the SD card memory, which we've got filled with our test content. We've got another USB port, an HDMI out, which you'll see is quite important for this particular device. And actually, not too often that we see the Ethernet connection in here. It adds a little lump along the bottom. There's a bit of curve in the actual device, but the Ethernet port is there for those who want to go directly connected to the internet without using the Wi-Fi. And then on the far end here, you've got a little port for your power supply connection, which has got a thin tip on it. Coming around the device again, you'll see a little more of those rivet type holes, but with little plastic caps in them that I was talking about. And it looks like it was a microphone port here as well. So you can see it's pretty smooth, and then again around the rest of the side there, the back of the device has absolutely nothing except for a little bit of markings to let you know what some of the different ports and things are that we just looked at earlier from the side view. And that's basically all you get with the device, but it is a kind of a unique form factor and size. The software for the FlyTouch 3G is kind of interesting in the sense that it's a little bit of a schizophrenic situation in that it is the typical Android shortcuts and widgets. You can see the Android market up here, and the calendar and the weather showing in Shanghai, China. And you can flip along through the device to the different home screens that are available through there. Here's the search button for typical Google Android search. Now, so there's only seems to be 3 screens at the moment, with a little bit of the dock along here, including some more access to some different elements of the device. Interestingly enough though, pressing the middle button usually takes you into the application layer, shows you all the different apps, but in this particular case it actually takes you to another set of home screens. So now we've got 2 more home screens that we can go through that are loaded up with the applications. Funnily enough, all the application icons though are copies of the Apple application. So in some sense it feels like Android, but when you flip to a screen like this and you look at some familiar calendar application, for example, all of a sudden you feel like you're in the world of Apple, which is, I don't know, kind of humorous at best. But you'll see that there's some of the good things about the device are that it does include the Android market on board, so you can have your things like Gmail and other features that you want to have on the device as well. For accessing your SD card and the things that are going on in your computer, there's a MyPad application, and that makes it fairly simple to get around through the device and basically see what's going on in terms of your folders and your SD card memory. Taking it back to the home screen, it is a little bit odd in that it's difficult to find the apps that you've downloaded. If they don't show up here on the screen after you've downloaded them, it's a little bit tough to find the actual applications later. They're not actually a place where you can just go into and see the whole entire list of your apps the way you typically do in Android. And that's just done because of some of the way that they've set things up on the demo unit that we're using. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting about the device is it also has a dedicated screenshot application software. So at any time when you're in the device, you can actually take a screenshot simply by pressing the camera icon at the top there. I don't know if you're able to hear on video, but there was a little clicking noise that the device made to let you know that it had just taken and captured a screenshot of what we were just looking at here. At any time in any application, you can take a screenshot. For a lot of Android users, you'll know that actually taking screenshots is one of the hard things. It's hard to actually do that unless you've got your device rooted or somehow connected to a developer kit. So if you're a basic consumer, that's a bit of a tough thing to do, but they've made it pretty easy on this particular device. Now, one of the great things about the FlyTouch is that it's got the 10.1 16:9 aspect ratio, which is great for video, especially if you're watching high definition video content. The screen is actually a 1024 by 600 16:9 aspect ratio, of course, set up. So let's see what we can do in terms of video performance. One of the things that's really interesting about it also is that actually you have to double tap the screen to make any of the things happen, which takes some getting used to if you're not. But one of the things that you'll find is that this particular device also has an InfoTM 1 gigahertz processor, 512 megabits of RAM, and the first tablet that we've actually reviewed that has the ability to play 1080p video from our test content folder that wasn't a Tegra 2 device. So we've got our 1080p MP4 format booth page video that we've been showing off now for 2 years and a little bit longer. Double tap, sorry, to let it know. Let's open that up in the movies player. And now you'll see the Booth Babes of Computex 2010 video. Now, we haven't had a video tablet before, as I've said, that's been able to do that, except for the ones that were based on Tegra. So actually, that type of video performance is quite impressive, especially when you consider that the device sells for around $200. I think it's $210 range, actually. So let's go back. And of course, so that was 1080p video. As you can expect, 720p and 480p video are fine. Those things play even smoother. Let's open up the 720p video here. This is kind of a poor video to use as a test one because at the beginning the cameraman's shaking on that very first shot, so it always looks a little bit stuttery, but you can trust us here. It's actually quite smooth playback, even at the 1080p, and here again at the 720p version, of course, because now we're going down. Let's see how it handles our MKV file that we've set up inside of it. See. And you can see, once again, absolutely smooth playback for the our dear old cameraman's favorite Liverpool versus Manchester United, back when Liverpool used to be a force to be reckoned with. Okay, so let's get out of the video performance, but I think if you look at the layout of the screen and the way this device is set up, I think video performance is really one of the key things for the device. They've really tried to emphasize that that's a important part of the performance. It's got the HDMI cable out, so they're expecting you to hook that up to your HD TV. And it's got that Ethernet connection down, and the only thing I can imagine that would be good for is easily accessing content from the internet faster, like downloading probably movies and things like that onto your device. So the browsing experience on the FlyTouch is actually quite good. One of the things that the device supports is 10.1 flash, so you're able to have some flash video as well as maybe banner ads and the other flash content that shows up on your typical website. I think you'll see here with the footage we've got that actually plays pretty smoothly this CNN video. It's not amazing, but actually it's a lot better than not being able to see that content at all. One of the cool things about the FlyTouch is, unlike the new iPad 2, which has a terrible front-facing camera, this device has actually a good front-facing camera. The quality is higher spec than the iPad 2. In low lighting conditions, you can see here my face is on the video. It's basically very low light in here right now. It's picking me up very clearly. It would be great. I haven't been able to hook it up to Skype for video chat because that still doesn't seem to be working for Android yet. But if that ever happens, I think this would be a great device to be doing that kind of thing with. It can take decent pictures. There's no rear-facing camera, unfortunately. So that's sort of the end of the review for us today. Unfortunately, we've just had a short time with the FlyTouch. I really would have liked to put it through a lot more paces. There's a lot more things to note about the device. One of the things that we did note, though, was that the speaker volume is not particularly high, but then again, maybe with mobile products, you should be using your earphones when you're in public anyway. What else that we should know? I guess for its price at $209, there's not a lot of the 10-inch screen devices that are priced that cheaply. But this device's price is probably pretty good for that, what you're getting. I think the processing performance and grunt performance in terms of how it was able to go through the video and actually playing things like Angry Birds on that when I was fooling around off camera was really fun. So it handles that kind of thing really well. So for $209, I think that it's priced at Very Mobiles, I think that's probably pretty good value. Again, depending on how you plan on using your tablet. It does include the Android market in the demo unit that we've received at least, so again you'll have access to all the apps easily without having to sideload things, which is great also. Again, that's not everything that we've tested on the device for you today, but Wi-Fi signal was strong as well. I'm just trying to think if there's some stuff that I missed that we kind of got to play with while you weren't on camera with me. Let's see. I think that's probably about it. I'll try to include some more information for you in the written review. And of course, if you have any questions, go to our website where the review is here. And we try to answer all the questions on the website about the devices that we can. So thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on our next review.